Hello, everyone. Welcome to the September Koha-US Cataloging Special Interest Group. And this month, there's going to be another cataloging interest group at the Koha-US conference during the week of September 18th, and I'll pop that link in the chat for the conference. So check out the schedule. The one coming up is going to be a joint cataloging special interest group and sysadmin special interest group, and there's going to be a guest host for cataloging, Sarah Connor, so be nice to her. You will be graded on how you treat the substitute teacher.
And you aren't going to be watching, right?
I'm gonna try. I'm trying to rearrange my schedule to at least tune in, so we'll see, we'll see how that goes. And I'm also going to pop a link into the chat. There's a draft series treatment in the new Open Rules for Cataloging project. If you haven't checked out this project, do check it out. It's pretty darn cool. And the other thing I wanted to ask everybody, and I think Aida's been working on this, is how do you handle name changes? I see some nodding. We do authority control, so we will, I will, if there's an updated name authority record, say someone, welcome those who are tuning in. We're talking about name changes. Say someone has transitioned genders, so has their preferred name. I will download a new authority record or change the authority record. And since we use authority records in our catalog, I do have the subfield 9 with the authority record number in the authority controlled fields in the bibliographic records. So when the scripts run, those bibliographic records are changed. Otherwise, sometimes I will add a new cross-reference to the authority record. Just a reminder for those, the controlled version of the name in an authority record is in a 1XX field. The C-froms are in a 4XX field. How do other people do it? Maybe we're all figuring it out.
Explain what you mean by the script running. How do you make it do that?
Okay, we're supported. So in by Bywater, so in our case it's a Bywater thing, but I have looked this up. I have found it in the manual. I'll take a look. Talks amongst yourselves.
Well, I will say for at least one of us, authority control is something that's on my, someday I really ought to learn this. No, I don't do it.
Yeah, authority control is on my list, but it's under journals. Don't know if it's an ocean, a black hole, or a pond. It's crossing the ponds. And we do have the fun of we've got Europe and and the US and Asia trying to. I'm learning so much about international cataloging rules. It's so much fun. But yeah, authorities is on our to-do list. I am looking forward to it and fearing it all at the same time.
Hi, sorry, I just took away for a second, but can you ask your question again? Because I heard you talking about authorities, and we are in the middle of trying to figure out authorities now.
Of course, Miranda. So
you.
questions came in about how do people handle name changes. So one instance where there's a personal name change and is someone is transitioning genders. So in that case, we probably have an authority record for publications under the old name, the dead name. There's a new authority record or a changed, updated authority record. Since we use OCLC, I will download the updated authority record. It overlays on the 010, which is a choice in the settings. And then what we since we use authority records in the authority controlled headings and bibliographic records, there's a subfield 9 with that authority record number. And when the magic script runs, and I'm digging in the manual right now to find the information on that magic script, since I don't have it in the fore of my brain, since we're hosted and supported by Bywater and they do such magic for me. But I have looked for it and I have found it before, and I'll put that in the chat. Then all those headings in the bibliographic record are automatically updated and changed. And then after that, I'll do a search for stragglers that maybe didn't get linked properly. And it's the same sort of thing with updated terminology and subject terms. That's sort of our process. If there's no updated authority record, or maybe it's a local authority record I keyed in, I'll change it myself. If there's, say, a new variation of a name shows up, maybe a publication under a pre-marriage name, something like that, then sometimes I'll just update an authority record and put in a 4XX in the authority record as a C from to the controlled name, the 1XX.
And will that get flipped? Like if you put something in a 4XX, say you have like, well, I guess it would get flipped anyway if you have the subfield 9, right? So as long as it's
Yes.
tied to that, it should flip. Okay.
Yeah.
So we just went live. Well, I guess not just anymore. I still feel like we are in early migration, but we went live at the end of May. And we have had a very difficult time cataloging in Koha. A lot of things have gone wrong. A lot of things have broken. We got an upgrade that like undid a bunch of things that they did for us. So authorities have been like keep getting pushed further down the list of the fires we need to put out. So we use Backstage Library Works to do our authority maintenance. And we have yet to do a first batch of sending out our bibs, get the authority records and loading them. And generally we get anywhere from 2,500 to 5,000 changed authority records just for names each month. And I'm definitely concerned with how that switching process is going to go. If there is anything where I think the majority of the changed authority records are like, an added 670 or an added 4XX field. So I don't think the majority of them are 1XX field changes. But for those ones, I'm hoping it sort of goes smoothly where as long as it was linked to begin with, it will just update the 100. We're hoping to have a hands-on project with Bywater. We are also using Bywater, having them sort of hold our hand during the first load to make sure that everything works correctly. But that is something that we are nervous about, and especially in like the names, I feel like that feels like it should go smoothly. But for subject headings where you have a subdivision, if the main subfield A changes, if there is any subdivision, it's not going to be linked to an authority record because we don't have authority records for the full string. We only have authority records for the subfield A. So I don't know how we're going to handle that. My understanding is like we'll just have to do a search, like run a report for anything that has that subject in it, and maybe if there's a lot, extract it to mark edit, make the change and load them back in. Okay.
That can totally work. It's been my experience that what we're talking about are free-floating subdivisions that tend not to have authority records for them. So free-floating subdivision might be, say, something like, just pulling this out of the air, like um, thank you. My husband's in the same room. He's also a cataloger. He threw out fiction. Yes. So you've got chocolate dash dash fiction. You have a subject. You have a subject authority record for chocolate, but you don't have chocolate set dash dash fiction. Generally, you don't really need that authority record because everything's fine. But say your catalogers were typing and they typed Ficticon. That's what we're talking about. How are you going to like catch that? There are reports out there for such things. I'm doing cleanup. How everybody does authority cleanup is very individual depending on your situation, and depending on your type of library. I tend to throw out there that there's a reason that most libraries have not done the cleanup for these free-floating subdivisions is that generally the researchers and the patrons and the searchers are finding what they need. There are other ways that those things are turning up. They're classified as novels. There's other data in the record pulling it up. There's a fixed field for fiction. Bibliographic references, bibliographies. There's other things. So generally, those are lower priorities for a reason. But for those who are new to Koha, in case you're not aware, there are many reports in the report wiki, and in your reports area of Koha, there's a direct link to the Koha Reports library. And then there's also a function called Mana where you could directly share and bring in reports. And Bywater has done really helpful videos and instructions on their website about if you bring in a report from Mana, it could need a little editing to get the carriage returns and things correctly so that it runs correctly. And we are here for you.
So if there's something like, have you had any issues with like the subject terminology changing, and with like something fiction where, you know, like when illegal aliens changed, have you done any major projects to do those kind of cleanups? Anyone, I guess?
Yes.
We did it we were on Sierra, and it's like super easy to do kind of a batch change of just the subfield A on all of your subject headings, but I haven't found
Okay,
best way to
Margaret
do
chimes
that.
in. She did that one by hand. I do a lot by hand when there's a split, like
Okay.
something has changed into this heading, and that heading.
Mhm.
That's often worth doing by hand because the brain's faster at determining which
should
heading
be.
is what it should be, and that's a great telecommuting project. Or you know, I've got an hour on the reference desk. What am I going to do? And just go through those. The other thing that has been in my experience is that a lot of systems, like you were saying, it's super easy to do the batch edit. That's their paradigm. We do a batch edit. The paradigm in Koha is you change the authority record. Ba-doom, boom. And then all the bibliographic records are changed automatically. And that's super duper easy and a lot less work for your one-to-one change. Like the subfield A is changed, just change that authority record. Everything is automatically changed. And it does it absolutely beautifully. I'm still looking for the automatic things in the manual. I think a lot of this I'm putting this in the chat right now. It's the authority system preference section of the manual, because a lot of how your system links is determined by how you've got your system preferences set up. And yeah, and there's a lot of information there. And it does talk about the linker. If you scroll down from that link, like.
But it wouldn't update, say, if the subject heading changed. But then there was also like a big record that had that subject heading with a subfield B fiction.
No,
it's
will
not
change
going to
that
update
subfield A.
that one. Only the subfield A, even if we don't have an authority record with subject and fiction.
I think so.
Oh,
yes. Okay. Yes. So say you have say the new subfield A is motion pictures, or the old subfield A was motion pictures. I'm making this up out of my head. The new subfield A is film. And we had a heading, motion pictures, dash congresses. Congresses is a free-floating subdivision. I think, and I want people to chime in if I'm wrong, as always, that when the authority record is either overlaid or updated or changed to subfield A film, then that bib record will now have film -- congresses.
Okay, that will be great if it works that way. I got the impression that it doesn't, but we haven't actually tried it, so I don't know.
I think that's connected to a system preference. So you can turn that on or you can leave that off. This is why I haven't dabbled my feet in authorities yet, is because it's got a lot of system preferences that the combination changes, or at least my very beginner understanding of authorities is those system preferences can be as powerful or as weak as you want them. But you need to know what you want and how you want it.
Right.
And your data needs to be good before you turn that on. That's the other reason why I haven't done it yet, is because my data is all over the place, because I've got 23 libraries, and every library has had, 2 or more librarians, and they all did subjects different.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta like standardize that before I turn on these authorities. I don't want to create problems when I turn on system preferences.
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to create more work. I want to eliminate work.
I don't know if this would be at all helpful, just to get an overview of how much work you need to do. But you can export the entire database, and then use MARCedit to export the names and subject headings. Probably make either at the same time or not. And then Excel has this handy little feature called delete duplicates. So you can delete, let's say, the 50 instances of William, Reuben, and leave the unique one. And if you have Reuben, William A, it'll show up in your list. Or when I'm adding departments, sometimes I get a little extra on by mistake. Again, figure out what to go in and delete, or change, even if you're not using authorities.
That sounds like, just thinking about that in our system is enough
Intimidating,
to make me be like,
daunting.
I don't want to do authorities at all. Yeah, I mean, we have just under 1 billion bib records. And,
Is
you
that
know,
with a B as in Bravo?
yes,
Don't
B
don't
as
do
in
it this
Bravo.
Don't do it my way.
But like maybe a subsection, I could see finding anything that has, a specific phrase in it that maybe that changed, just to get a sense of how
Yes.
many instances there are of that. But
Yes, no catalog is ever perfect. No
mhm,
catalog is ever perfectly clean.
yeah,
It's all approaching, and many places only have the staff to take a look at the typical typos, like the untied states.
type street.
Yes, there are lists of these. Um, yeah, it's all a goal, and yeah, and some areas are more important than others. For example, the illegal aliens was brought up, and that is a term that inflicts harm. So, yeah, let's prioritize that. It's a process.
Hmm.
It's all a process. And Lori asks if anyone has worked with MARCive. I'm going to throw out too that the recording does go up on YouTube. So if anybody is watching the recording and has any experience with any of this, please feel free and please do contact the group. You can post to the Koha-US cataloging list. You can post to the Koha main email list. You can join our group. We have our own little email. You can also, I'm going to put my email in the chat. You can email me directly and I'll forward comments on or discuss them. Likewise with questions. You don't need to attend our sessions live to participate. I'm happy to bring questions and issues to the group for discussion too.
Well, it is more fun to be here in person. But regarding catalogs, remember what T.S. Eliot said allegedly: "No poem is ever finished; it is merely abandoned." And Miranda, do you work at an educational institution?
No, I'm in a public library consortium.
Okay, if you were, I'd say, isn't that what work study students are for?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any of those. If you got extras lying around, you can send them my way.
I'm in a hospital. We don't have any.
Library school interns, volunteers.
People trying to work out their OCD.
Hmm.
And I'm slightly that myself, so I can say that. Actually, it's CDO, alphabetical order.
Sometimes it is very satisfying to focus on a specific area. Say, I subscribe to the AutoCat email list. It's huge, but you can get it in digest, or you can subscribe and not receive the emails, but read online. And there are regular posts about the latest Library of Congress lists of headings, changes, and new headings. People do discuss big changes, and sometimes I'll, I'll see one of those and it's like, oh, we have headings in that area, and I'll just clean up this one little area and it'll be like, yes, I did it. It's bright and shiny and that's so satisfying. And now I can, like Lauren says, head into the morass of like a journal with 7 title changes.
Yeah, those little projects are fun and like very needed every so often. Just like accomplish something today. We have discovered that half of our records at least didn't get the authority linking when we migrated. So I was trying to see how much of a project it would have been to find every name entry in our bib records that didn't have a subfield 9. And it was hundreds of thousands of bib records. And when I started to go through them, I noticed, oh, these all do have authority records. It just, the automatic linker kind of broke halfway through. So we opened up a ticket with Bywater, and now they're trying to figure out what happened there. So I feel a little bit okay to not focus on authorities, because like, well, it's broken, so I can't do anything right now anyway. Let me go do something else.
Yes, see the positive of the situation.
Yeah.
So I have
All
a
right,
question.
well, thank you for that.
On how you import. So I know I've heard auto linking, and I mean, I have, this is a future project, so don't totally need it now, but I know other ILS systems work where if the authority record exists, it's got to be in there first, and then you import your records back in, it will automatically link the records to the authority. So like, it's worth exporting everything out and importing an authority file record and then importing it all back in so that it links it, instead of you having to go through all of your new records and making sure. Does Koha do that? I know it's got to be tied to a system preference. I feel like the auto linker beyond, like, there's, I think, 2 or 3.
Yeah, the linker system preferences, there's options, there's things it'll do when a record's edited. In there.
For future reference for me, though by the time I get to this, I will probably go to part-time to take care of the pony. When I'm doing the author's catalog, I just import straight from MARCedit compiled records. So, which is how different variations of a name or something else can get into it. Koha, recognize, yeah, this is pretty much the same. Map it to this, or do you have to set up a rule for each possible name?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay, let's say William Rubin, also known as Billy Rubin. If you were a doctor, he'd be rolling over, helpless with mirth. William H. Rubin, William H. Rubin Esquire, and you want to have it all as William Rubin. What is involved in automatically mapping that, or is it possible?
Oh, okay. It's my understanding that all of those variations will need to be in a 4XX field in an authority record with the 100 Rubin, comma, William H, period, subfield C, parentheses, doctor, in the 100 field. And if there's if a bib record comes in with Reuben, Willie, it's not going to get caught.
And I would have to put them in the E400 field manually.
Yeah, a human's going to have to catch that and say, oh, that's the same guy, 400 Reuben, Willie, the magic linkery thingamahoo runs, and it's updated.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that being helpful. Thanks. And yeah, probably the authority control will help with the author's catalog.
Authority control helps anytime you have enough records that the searcher's going to miss things because there's different terms like chocolate and cocoa. Oh, I want to see also to cocoa. Or there's going to be things that are there's other ways too, and I want to bring up tagging. Koha does have tagging, and it can be user contributed and moderated. And we use that for terms that are just way too specific to get subject headings, or it's a tiny, tiny little thing like it's a cookbook and it has a recipe for Crackerhash, and we have people really, really into Crackerhash. We're going to put the tag Crackerhash. I'll put a link to our catalog. So there's other ways to do this too. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of authority control, but let's also talk about other likely things. And also, Koha indexes and searches. Yes. I'll put in a link to a blog post explaining what Crackerhash is too. Koha links and searches the whole record in great ways. So we also put in a lot of summary notes and contents notes. So summary note, this novel describes the adventures of the intrepid superheroes in fighting crime against it's keyword searching is great too.
So when you say you add tags, is that a specific like feature in a bib record, or do you just add like words in a 500 or something?
It's a feature, and here's a link to our tag cloud. And the way our catalog is set up, we allow anyone with a login to add tags, and then those show up in the staff client as needing moderation, and we approve them or not.
Interesting. Oh, is this in the OPAC with their
Mm-hmm.
tags? Okay, so we use Aspen.
Okay, so yeah,
So there is a
probably
separate
different.
tagging, I think, in Aspen, but I don't think that it can talk to Koha. Okay. So I'm like, where? I don't see this anywhere. But that's probably why.
Can tags be assigned to a record in the staff interface, or is it only done by patrons on the OPAC?
It is, let's see, I'm looking in our staff client. It's an OPAC feature, but our staff also uses it. Our staff also uses the OPAC for a lot of things. It's your same login.
Crackerhash is one of the larger tags.
Okay, here I'm looking up. Here we go. Here's a blog post. So dandyfunk and crackerhash and crackerjack are it's a maritime foodway, something that was often done with leftover ship's biscuit and whatever fat you can get. And if you were lucky enough to have some raisins or something, let alone some sugar, and sailors would put this together.
I recommend a good book describing ship's food. I think the title is Scurvy.
Yes. Okay.
I knew you'd know about that one.
I think this is the book we're talking about. It's called Scurvy, How a Surgeon, a Mariner, and a Gentleman Solved the Greatest Medical Mystery of the Age of Sail.
That's the one. It took a while to realize, lack of vitamin C makes your teeth fall out and a few other things.
Eventually, yeah.
Broken bones will re-break. Um, and someone had the solution, and then everyone forgot about it for a while.
So yes, it's all about. I mean, that's one of the, as I see, the hearts of cataloging is how can we get the data in ways and keep it vibrant and alive and relevant so that our users can find what they're looking for and maybe what they don't know they're looking for, but what will also be helpful. As I said, I'm a big fan of authority control and authority records. I think they're super powerful. I know they're daunting. People often see it as a big mountain, but yeah, scaling the mountain is one step at a time. And there are other ways, especially with Koha. Notes are very powerful. Summary notes, contents notes. If your staff isn't comfortable knowing about, whoa, formatted contents note 505, what are you talking about? Just 500, throw it in a note. What is it about? Who, what, where, when? And if you don't have the staff for authority control or haven't gone there, there can also be a note saying, this novel by name 1 under their pseudonym, name 2, was also published under their other pseudonym, name 3. And if keyword searching is happening, that record's going to turn up under all those variations. We have a question here from Aida. When it comes to authority preferences, what is recommended? Should one set AutoLinkBiblios to do? What about other preferences in the linker? That's a big question. And Lauren is nodding.
It's the age-old library answer. It depends. Dot, 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 dot.
I think it depends a lot on your cataloging staff.
Mm.
Okay. This is just me. That's our situation too. I am the cataloger. So I don't have things like auto create authorities because I know that me, the cataloger, is going to do that authority work. Make sure the headings are verified, look for the authority records, bring in the authority records. I'd be happy to take a look and share how our system preferences are set up, if I can figure out how to do that. Talk amongst yourselves.
We have AutoLinkBiblios that to do. I think because any new bib record that comes in will eventually get sent out to Backstage and come back in. So if there is an authority record existing in the system already, we want it to just auto link so that we don't have to touch every bib record. And if there isn't one linked, Backstage will find that and give us a report of, hey, here are all the ones that we found records for. We've brought them in and they should be linked now. And here are all the ones that we didn't find authority records for. You might need to create those, or maybe there's a typo, or maybe something like that. They give us a really handy report called near matches, which is like this name or this subject matches on 90% of the characters in this other subject heading. So maybe we're just missing a date, or maybe there's a typo, and maybe it's somebody's, like we had their first initial, but there is an authority record for somebody with a full middle name with that initial. So it gives us the opportunity to go and find whether or not this is a unique thing, or if there's something else out there, it just wasn't done in the initial cataloging. One thing that we specifically changed from the way our Koha was defaulted, or when we were set up, was require choosing existing authority. We have that set to don't require, because what that does is allows you to only enter in any field if an authority record exists. So when we're creating records, we couldn't add subject headings for something that didn't have an authority record. We couldn't add an author's name if there wasn't already an authority record in the system. So, for a lot of them, there was already an authority record, but there are plenty of records where there is a new subject heading we're adding, a new author. Where it really screwed us up was series, because majority of our series do not have authority records, because they just don't exist. So nobody was able to add series records or series entries to any of our bib records because there were no authority records. So that is one that we definitely changed from our initial setup. So the required choosing existing authority, we put that to don't, so that we could have any fields that can be linked is now a free text field. So you can just type into it and then link it if it exists. I think that's the only authority system preference we've looked at so far. I imagine we will have to look at these more once we actually start doing some authority control.
Yeah, I don't do any, if I'm typing in an original cataloging record or editing a bib record in Koha, I don't do any linking at that point. I let the linker run later.
Yes, on the very rare occasions that I do original cataloging, I probably need to dig into the settings, disable this, but when I'm putting in a name, no, I have to go here, look through here. No name. Okay, now I have to add one. How do I do this? If I did more original cataloging, I'd be better at it and used to it.
I usually have I have a couple tabs up. I always have in one tab my authorities, so I can search.
Obviously, I hadn't thought of that.
There's always something we haven't thought of that someone else will bring up, and we're like, oh, yeah, I should do that. Thanks. That's one thing I love this group for. There are also a lot of demo sites out there. You can go, go play. And also MARCedit, it was brought up. MARCedit is very powerful, and MARCedit will also go out and get authority records and search, and it has some really good functions like that. I've only played with that for subsets of records.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the demo site.
Yeah.
Which is too bad because I'm part of the committee that's overseeing it.
Aha!
I think. No, I'm not going to say anything because I'm really not sure.
I'll put a link to the Bywater Solutions Koha demo. And I'm in the Bywater Solutions Koha demo, and I'm going to Koha administration, and yes, I can get into system preferences in a Bywater Solutions Koha demo.
Yeah, I think it's how your login is set up.
Who sets up the logins?
Of the Koha-US demo?
Write to info@koha-us.org. It's turned into, yeah, we really need to do something about this one of these days.
There's also a new feature in later versions of Koha where people can report an error in a cataloging record. And that's really helpful, because sometimes it's your users that will find your typos for you, which is terrific.
So that's like the public? Whoever's like using your catalog, not your staff. I mean, staff could use it too, I assume, but.
Yeah, probably depends on how it's set up. I keep saying Koha is infinitely configurable. And I use an editor. Well, if no one else has a topic, I just want to put in a plug for my Koha-US conference presentation on redoing the MedStar authors catalog. Part of it is MARC heavy, part of it is admin heavy, and part of it is really neither. So I get the chance to bore 3 different groups of people. Something to bore everyone. But I do have a part, and Aida, I think you were looking at or wondering about this. We can change one MARC display piece of xlst code to another, and it's really pretty easy. So if you want to change the, let's say 082 to the 080, just a couple of things you need to do. And also, just as an aside, I include how to upload files to the Koha server itself and get them to display, which sort of bypasses the upload file function, which I have found almost impossible to figure out. Now I just have to figure out what I'm going to say about Elasticsearch. And let's see, I have 2 weeks.
Yeah, Fred, I'm where you are. So I'm doing 2 presentations. One on how I did all of our cleanup based on item types, which is a session in itself, like all the steps and all this fun stuff. And then the second one is the nitty gritty. Bring your laptop, because I'm going to show you how to actually edit your frameworks, how to edit your authorized values, how to open mark, download mark, edit, and I will show you. We will do it together on this is how you select, how you edit only a portion of your records instead of all of your records, which I did like, I don't know how many. I've gotten really good at that one because I've had to do it for like control numbers, for titles, for multiple things, but it's the same process, or that step is the same. How you use it is a little different, but I'm trying to figure out, so do I do screenshots and put all this in a PowerPoint, or do I just wing it and here are all the how-tos that I created so that I know how to follow what I did, but I'll show you in real time, here is my computer screen. This is what it looks like. This is what I'm doing. I haven't decided. I keep going back and forth. And then I'm trying to decide, because Frameworks doesn't quite do everything I wanted to. So I've entered the world of macros, which I can get those to work. I've gotten those to do what I wanted to do. So that may be the route I go. And I tried to enter the world of record modification template. And I can't figure out how to create a field with multiple subfields. So for the 336 ABC, it puts A in a field, B in another field, 2 in another field. I'm like, no. I want 336 A, B, 2, all in one field. And I can't figure out how to get that to work. So if anyone knows how to get that to work, all the tutorials are for like just adding one subfield or adding a 007, just adding one straight thing. It's not how to add.
Do you mean in MarcEdit or in a macro in the advanced in the advanced bibliographic editor?
In Koha's batch record template.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm talking about? The record.
Yes. You're talking about the thing I haven't played with very much and don't know anything about.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so I think it's just one subfield at a time, right? Yeah, it's adding it, and it's not adding it in a line like in the advanced editor. It's adding it like in the basic editor. So you can't add like if you have 336 subfield A, and then you try to just put a string that's like, oh, in the subfield A, I want,
is this
text,
a thing where regex? Do you need regex?
I don't think it's.
I think so. So the macro, I can say 336 AB2, and it's got all that information, and it'll add the line. As long as you have the little subfield symbol correct. Evidently I had one that looked like the right one, but wasn't the right one. And it kept giving me an error. And then I changed it. I'm like, oh, okay, now it works. But the modification thing, it only, if I say create a new 336A with this, B with this, 2 with this, 3367A with this, B with, it will create 336 fields, 337, and it's all got, so then I'd have to manually go, move the B up to the first one, delete. The 2 up to the second one, delete. I'm like, because I'm needing it for mixed materials where it's a book with a CD-ROM. And I can't, the framework I'm using for this is a book, this is a CD-ROM, this is an audio CD, this is a DVD, and it automatically populates the information. So you don't have to like look up stuff. You still have to edit the 006, 7, and 8 to like make it specific, but at least it's already selected. Video recording, you don't have to change it from book to whatever. So I've got it that far. But I was wanting the macros for my people who don't know cataloging, and I can't get it to work. And I'm like, well, it may be just as easy to say, all right, what you do is you go to the advanced editor, like save your record, go to the advanced editor, select the CD-ROM template, and then hit save. And you're that might be just as easy as, because I can't get the thing that's supposed to be easier. I don't know how to make it work. And so
Margaret popped an example in the chat of what we're talking about these.
Yeah, that's a macro.
Yeah.
And then I can get to work in macros. So I'm now going through all my frameworks and like, okay, trying to make it where it's easy to share with people. This is what's in my thing. Here's my framework. Upload it to your system, and then you don't have to do all this. But this is what it is, like a document that says, okay, this is what's in that framework, because they're not easy to see when you're in the MARC framework. You have to be in a record to be able to see what it actually does. But I'm like, okay, I need to create some macros, and then I'll probably end up, all the catalogers say, all right, now tell me what I have wrong. What subfield did I not put in here that I was supposed to, or what control number was I supposed to use in the leader instead? I'm new. In college, I really didn't totally pay attention in cataloging class because I was going to be an elementary school librarian, and it didn't matter. Like, I have a book. That's all. And we copied everything. Like I did very little original cataloging. And now I'm like in a consortium with academic and special libraries. And no. You need.
Cataloging is everywhere. How many of you have compiled, say, you're sending out, this is typical, a lot of people celebrate Christmas and will send out Christmas cards, and they actually start making a spreadsheet with the addresses and to do a mail merge into their address labels. Yeah, I'm seeing some hands. Getting that data into the spreadsheet, those addresses, that's data entry. That's cataloging. Putting the contacts in your phone, that's cataloging. Cataloging's everywhere. And with that, I'm going to say it's the top of the hour. And the last.
Sorry. Heather, I have a question for you, but after you stop recording.
Okay. That's one of the benefits to coming to the meetings. We have the after party.
Yes. And Lauren, I'm also going to say how to add a MARC field and make it something else. Like if you want to add an 098, and Aida, if you want to add a special field, yeah, I sort of touch on it.
Oh, and that you could do that with a record modification template. Just as long as you allowed for it in your, I'm sure you'd have to allow, well,
This is
You might not
editing
have
the
to allow
frame.
for it in your framework.
Yes,
It may
you do.
still show up. You do have
No.
to allow for it in your framework.
I'm going to emphasize that 3 times. If you
Oh,
don't say managed in tab and then say where it is, Pro is not going to do anything with it.
oh yeah.
Okay,
when
I'm
setting up-
going
Yeah.
to end the recording and hope to see everyone at the Koha-US version of our cataloging SIG. I will mention it's open to all. Virtual attendance at the Koha-US conference is free, and we'll see you there. If you can't make it there, we'll see you in October. Thanks.